All right, another game between me and David Howell. Very strong player, and this one is competitive. I was playing the white pieces against him, and I tried d4. He played knight f6, and I played bishop g5. I played this tons of games, OTB, online, everywhere. Bullet chess and, 3-0. And it takes away a lot of the mainstream openings, and it's playable to play online and blitz games, right? So I figured that I would play something like that and see what happens. He played d5, and I do take this one is interesting because you give up the bishop pair early on. It's not really recommended to do so, but it could get really interesting. The reason I do that because sometimes I sometimes put the knight on f4, and sometimes with the pawns being doubled, it could actually help doing so. But with the right opponents, this is not that great from White's perspective. But again, this is three. This is actually 3-minute game, and obviously here you could see the computer evaluation. Still, it doesn't really like that. It feels like maybe slightly better for black, but obviously it's okay. You can play this kind of stuff online. I'm still like a believer where online blitz games openings is not that really. You don't really need to play the main openings when it comes to blitz games. That being said, bishop d6, c4, and he took. That's interesting because now bishop takes. Usually you're hitting this one. It's not a big deal. He does castles, knight e2. So this is actually what I meant by knight f4. I don't really do knight f4 now because he could take, but there are some situations he plays g3, knight f4. But he played knight d7, and I usually play queen c2. F5 is playable line, and yes, people do play this. The sack a pawn, I do take, and then the play knight e5. If you went, let's say, you do have to go to like c2. If you go here, this knight takes c4. That actually the idea of the purpose of doing knight e5. The queen is under attack. So queen c2 and bishop e6. This actually feels like black is giving up the pawn for like activity and the two bishops, right? It could get really interesting in a blitz game. I mean, I feel like black is really active. This is very playable, but in a blitz game, maybe white could have a say. Maybe you could hang on to the pawn and claim that white is okay or even better. So I play queen c2, queen h4. He's playing active play early on, and I think queen h4 is interesting. You cannot really castle. If you castle, you're getting hit by like h2 mate. So knight c3, knight b c3, and he rook c8. So he's actually covering the entire board. If you castle short, you're getting mated. If you castle long, he might be preparing c5. I went ahead and played castle here. I don't think this is the best move though. I actually feel like this is actually terrible. David has queen takes f2, and I think here, the evaluation bar. I don't know why I have it off, but the evaluation bar now feels like it's really miserable for miserable for me. And I think I think the computer wants me to play something like knight g3, something like that to save the position. To save the position, meaning that I don't allow queen takes f2. The reason this is really terrible, allowing queen takes f2, because you're down you give up a pawn at f2, and also e3 becomes weak. He has the two bishops, and he's still gonna get attacked on the queen's and the queen side. So I did castle, but to my surprise here, he played c5. He was already his mind is set to attack, and that's the point of rook c8. I feel like this one, after g3, I felt like maybe here, maybe I had d5. I mean, personally, I think I may have missed d5. The point of d5 is you claiming this is a pass pawn, and you're attacking the bishop, and maybe something like knight g3, d5, knight g3. And this is where the pawn may be a good asset for white. But I played g3. The problem with g3 here, I feel like white has too many holes around, I would say the holes around here. And I always tell people to be careful with pawn moves. because the pawn moves mean it could give weaknesses around the area where the pawn is moving. You can see that this is actually the areas I'm really pointing out. Not so much e4, but it's more like here. It's a weakness, but is it really crucial weakness? I think to some degree it is, and obviously I could have went with different move, which is d5, but he played queen e7, and then I played d5. You started, you ask yourself a question: why don't I have d5 in the beginning? Would it be easier to play d5? It's easy to say yes, d5 would have been better instead of g3. And you could see now David going for the weaknesses, and I like this move a lot because he might be going to bishop f3, and he kind of white position is not that great in terms of the squares being weak. So I played here defending. He played here, and a6. This one is interesting, and I figured that I have queen f5. Maybe this is, I don't know if around here. Specifically here, I wonder if instead of e6, there was another move that he may have, like queen f6 perhaps. This may be more interesting, so he doesn't really allow queen f5. That's actually the point. Knight b5 is not really a move to be concerned about. This is bishop e5. So this would have been a good position for for black. The reason a6 here is not the favorite, because then my next move is actually active, is queen f5. And now queen f5, the problem here is actually you're basically saying where's this bishop is going to go. And any kind of trade is going to favoring white, because I'm up a pawn, and also this d5 pawn is a pass pawn. So I think this is the reason why this move order would matter for white than for black. So he took, and then I took. Here I feel like really white is getting better, much better, because now the reason white is much better is because we get rid of the two bishops now, right? We get rid of the two bishops. I was already up a pawn since I took it on f5 early, and now d5 is a pass pawn. So I mean, now you're telling yourself, I'm talking about this d5 just in case people doesn't really follow what I'm trying to say. So now this is a list of stuff that makes white position really good, right? So I figured that here I'm actually really doing really well. He played here and I played here. So the rook at h1 wasn't doing anything, so may as well put it behind a pass pawn, which is a good idea. So b5, I think black tells himself there's nothing I could do except maybe attack the king. And f3. The point of f3 is maybe f4, e4, some kind of e5 ideas. G6, kick the queen, I go back to c2. And then he played, I suppose, f5. So this move now, you can see the evolution bar doesn't like it. And it's the reason why is actually because of e4. e4 seems to be because the rook is protected by knight c3. So you could see that the next move is white is actually looking at taking. And it's going to be a free pawn because the queen is under attack. He played b4 and he made things a little bit worse here. I don't know if really he has a way to play this position out. It looks like black is already in trouble, even if you were able to find a little bit of defense. I think here the move maybe for black is queen f7. But this feels like maybe white still has maybe even king b1 or something, and then white is really controlling the game. Now it's two pass pawns if you think about it going in. It's +1, it's difficult. It's just very difficult from here. So b4, this is really difficult, much more difficult instead of queen f7, because now I take with tempo. And I could not stress enough that when I tell people tempo really matters in the game, because now you take the pawn, it's a free pawn, and also you're attacking the queen. So now you're dealing with a second pawn grab. There's no compensation. The knight on c3 is going to e4 at some point. The pawn at d5 is still a pass pawn. So black doesn't have really anything going for him. So he does a check. He's trying his best, f4, and then he took here. He's trying to find a way to do this and take on c3. I don't think this works because I was able to play the right moves. Takes, and then I suppose I play here. You may feel like black is making some gains after taking, but he's not. Obviously, white is still up on the pawns, and also there's a potential attack here. So I took, and then I take on g6. So this feels like, if you look at this perspective, the king on g8 is actually exposed. The pawn at d5 is really moving forward. Black has nothing really to defend against, and to defend this position against. So obviously took here. It's just taking back a pawn. He may be like, theoretically this feels like it's equal, like equal amount of pawns, but it's not. After my next move is obviously d6. Now that what I'm basically saying, this is really tough because I could, just move the pawn. I could also take. I could have probably did that as well and then push d6. It's difficult to really handle this. You cannot really take back. If you take back, it's queen takes, and then obviously this rook would be hanging. Or even if you move here, you're looking at d7. It is a problem all across. He played here defending, but I just taken king here, and obviously queen g6. Now, the next move, what's interesting about this queen g6, the queen is actually protecting all the key squares. There's no like a single check for black that it could do. I'm covering all the key squares, right? And b2 is, even though it looks like a pawn and it looks like it's around the king, but it's not doing anything. I would be concerned about this one instead of this one, right? The problem is rook g1 and what black could do. There's a simple idea here by white. It's simple idea, very simple idea. Rook g1, queen g8. You trade everything off. d6 is just promoting. That was on my, that was the goal that I was trying to do. And this is easy idea, unstoppable idea. Also, rook g1 specifically it's actually threatening mate on g7. So that's the reason why this is completely difficult to do anything. And obviously he tried to play c4, and the next move is very strong by me. Because obviously here it's queen g7. This is actually the mate. There's also mate on g8. So you may, let's say you play queen e5, but you're allowing queen g8. You take, you promote a new queen and checkmate. So he played here. This is the only defense move. I think according to the engine, there's still like a force mate here, I suppose, like queen g5. I suppose this is like a mate, but the most simplistic way to win a game. And I don't think this is a bad idea. When I tell students sometimes, speaking about students, if you guys are interested in coaching, I'm offering my services. If you are interested, you could always contact me for that, just to get this out of the way. I always tell my students that if you have 4 ways of winning, right, or you have 2 ways of winning, if you figure out one way, it's okay. The real complications is actually when you play a position where it's only one way to win. You do have to find it. Like, let's say you have to find a checkmate in 10. You do have to find checkmate in 10. If you don't find the checkmate in 10, then maybe the game is drawn, right? So here, maybe queen g5 was best. There's a lot of move that may be leading to mate. And I think queen g5, the idea is queen e5, you're mating the king somehow. There must be some mate, because this might be hanging the rook at d8, something like here. And if queen f7, this queen at e5. And if you take here, there must be a way to mate it. I think there's a way you could mate it here. I think the most simplistic is what I did. I mean, you don't have to go for mates or anything, because this is equally, equal win. It's the same as, going for mate. But obviously, if you have a mate, right? Just to look over the computer here, yeah, that's, the evaluation bars did claim that it's a mate in 9. But my move is good enough because, I'm looking at the clock. He's already, he might be flagging anyway. So let's make it as easy as it gets. And I play here. So he takes, and then we do this, and then we play here. And then I win. And that's a simple way to win. The game actually finished. That's a simple way to win because the pawn is gonna promote by default. So you play here or here. I just simply play that. So it's a good game against David. This is really a game that was interesting. How in the opening he sacrificed a pawn and he was not able to keep up with the advantage. And that's sometimes, when you're dealing with an opening where you're given a pawn, you do have to, when you take the pawn, you have to continue playing active. If you give up the other side, a little bit of a defense, right? In my situation, it was like, I have to get rid of the 2 bishops, right? So it becomes like a bishop instead of bishop and knight. And then I had the pass pawn at d5, but I also had a free pawn. So it made sense for those three things to put me over the top in this game. David Howell is very strong. He's actually leading the score against me, but that was maybe my first win against him. I actually drew him before. The game is on YouTube. But that was an interesting game that sometimes you're able to, to beat some top GMs, and that was a nice win. Just to show it to you how actively that sometimes small details and small ideas would help to win a game like that. Hopefully you guys enjoy that and stay tuned for more videos.